Hi, I'm Kara Pogreba. Welcome to Bright Hope Creations. Today I'm making a little note card with Lawn Fawn's Mushroom House dies. And I'm going to cut 3 of those, one from thinner cardstock that I like to color, and 2 from thicker cardstock to make the note card. I use a piece of paper behind them in my Big Shot so they don't get the impressions from my plate. The thinner cardstock is Georgia Pacific 110-pound weight cardstock. So I'm finding out where I want to put my shading for the mushroom itself. And so I had the cap on the top just to see where those were and made a few lines. Now I'm just coming through with the W0, so it's a warm gray, and now the W1, and just flicking on some texture there and making the white stem not just white, and giving it some definition and a little bit more depth with shading, but also with just giving it a little texture. And you can see by this, it's just kind of brush strokes are thick. I start with kind of a heavy hand, and then I lighten up as I go towards the center of the mushroom. All right, then I also like to use the E40s. I think the E40s and the warm grays go very well together for many kinds of things, but especially kind of a natural look when you're trying to do something that's lighter like this, a white object. It gives more interest than just keeping with one color family. And then coming back in with the E40, kind of blending some of those E41s, but also making some new lines. You can see it's pretty random, and I don't have to be too concerned because I know that there will be a few things that will go on top of the mushroom, like the door and window. So I'm putting a few of the things on to see if I have enough shading, and I decided I'd like to have a little bit more. So I'm coming in with a darker E. This is the E42, so it's not real dark, but just for white, it's dark. So coming in on the top and the bottom, and you can see the way I'm flicking these lines kind of in the curve of the mushroom itself, curved more at the edges and straighter in the middle. All right, so I'm comfortable with that, and now onto that mushroom cap. And with this, I am just deciding how far up I want to go with my coloring, and now I'm coming in with the R32, and this is a matter of layering. So this is colored cardstock, and I wanted to make sure that I was putting color Copic onto Copic. So it was the R32, then I went to the 35, and I'm blending that in with the 32, and I felt good about that. I decided I wanted it darker, so R37, and with each of these I'm blending it fully out. So there's the R35 and the R32, and I kind of have that line of how far up I want to go. And then I decided, yep, I'll go for it. This is the R39, and it's nice and dark, and you'll see when it's all put together, it really makes a difference to say that this part of the mushroom cap is closer to the stem, whereas the other part of the mushroom cap is bigger or away from the stem. So blending that all back out, and then I come in with the R30 to blend it into the rest of the cardstock. Now, I think the R30 is close to this, well, it's even lighter than the cap, but so I'm happy with that, I now think, though, that the top is looking a little bare compared to having all that blended color down below. So on those edges where it curves in, I put an R32. I liked where that was, and now I'm coming in with the R35 and blending that back out with the R32, and then I'll come in with the R30. So I'm not going as dark here. I just want to give some shading to say, yes, the mushroom is curving. Now you could keep those white spots just the way they are, but I found that if I cut another mushroom cap out of white and used those pieces for the spots, it gave better depth to the mushroom cap. And so I put them in first, and now I'm coloring. It's easier to figure out where you're going to color them, having them in like the puzzle together first instead of coloring them and then putting them in. And I'm using cool grays here because I want this to look like a different type of white than the mushroom stem itself. And just deciding how dark I want to go. So I start with my lightest, decide I like where my shadows are. Do I want to go darker? On the bottom ones, I certainly did because I want those to kind of match up with the dark portions of where it looks like the mushroom cap is going underneath, closer to the stem. And then I'm just blending everything back out. Now with dots or polka dots on dresses, things like that, you don't always want to shade each polka dot because it makes it look more like it's out in front of the dress instead of part of the dress. But with these parts of the mushroom, I do want them to look like they stand out. So we're on to the chimney, and I just want that to look like it's rounded. So I'm going underneath the cap of that chimney and then on the pipe on both sides so that it looks like it's rounded. And I think C2 is as dark as I go. Coming back in to blend that in with the C0. And then lost some of that definition, so came back with the C2. And then with the lantern and the doorknob and keyhole, I wanted those all to kind of be metal, similar to the chimney. So they're getting the same treatment. I show a C1 here, but I know that off camera I go up to a C2. So the grass, because of the way I have the stem of the mushroom, I wanted to make sure the grass kind of matched. So I wanted smaller flicks than just the chunky grass. The chunky grass is great, it's fun, but I wanted it to match up. So I was using the flicks of the Copic to do that. And here with the tulips, just putting some darker definition on one side to give it a little shadow. And then with the tulips themselves, they're so tiny, but because I treated everything else, I didn't want to leave those, and it does help. It gives it more definition. I just go up to the R35 with those, kind of make a little triangle at the top to show that the one petal is behind the others, and just at the bottom give it some shading and then blend that back out. Boy, the sky's the limit with what you can do with these mushroom house dyes. I mean, I just remember as a kid we had canisters in our kitchen that were shaped like mushrooms like this for the flour and sugar and everything. So much fun. Those were avocado colored though, I think. All right, anyway, so under the door, all I'm doing is getting a little bit of shading around the edges of the door. Not going to do anything too fancy because this is the wood grain cardstock from Fawn, and so it kind of holds its own. I'm putting some yellow cardstock behind the door to show light from the house, but if you would open that door, you would think there's no depth to the house. So that's easily put in just by putting in a baseboard and a few lines to create a floor, and then all of a sudden you have depth to the inside of your house. And I did that with the C's and came back in with the E's to kind of just blend that in. I'm not trying to make it look like wonderful wood. I'm just giving the idea of a floor versus a wall in the house. I attached that to the door frame as I attached all the glowing parts to the things they're attached to. Now here's the note card portion. So I want to put a score line up at the top and put some score tape above that line, and then attach the two pieces together and it makes a note card. And then I get to attach the colored portion. And it's time to assemble the pieces. I'm going to slip this chimney in between the front panel and the note card. Get that just right, and then start putting on the pieces, the grass and the different things that make it fun. There's the door and the window. And with the lantern, I just have that as though it is hooked onto the side of the mushroom. And then putting in those tulips, I put a little glue on the back of them and then just slip them in between the grass. And here comes the second one. And then putting a little dot on each of the tulip greens, just getting the tulip on top. Using a jewel picker to pick those up and get them positioned. A little bit of glue to get the keyhole on there, and then I'm just attaching the doorknob above that. I know there's many different ways that can work. All right, so I wanted to put a sentiment inside, and so I'm using a sentiment from Lawn Fawn's Oh Gnome, saying, "Thanks so much." I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp that on there. And our little note card is all done. So it needs an envelope, and I found that this note card works well in a square envelope, about a 3.5 by 3.5 size, which works great with a 6 by 6 piece of paper. So I'm using Lawn Fawn Spring Fling and putting the paper at the 3-inch mark and then giving it a punch, the hole punch, and scoring it. And I just rotate around all 4 sides with that at that 3-inch mark. Now, it's not something that you could put in the mail, but it's a fun way to give this note card to somebody. I think it would be fun to find it in a lunch bag. So show somebody you're thinking of them. So I'm going to fold the flaps back just to get them started. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and crease them down very well. Now the envelope maker also has a corner rounder on the outside, and so I'm going to punch the rounded corner on the main flap and then the one that flaps up to meet it, and then just adhere all those flaps together. Very simple. And the note card goes in there so well. I put a stitched rectangle on the front since it's kind of a busy paper so that I could write the recipient's name on there. And it's all set to go. I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful day.